All right, Sixer Nation, it is one night before the 2024 NBA Draft, round number 1. It is going to be very intriguing to see how things play out tomorrow night. For the last couple months, we've talked about this team, what their strategy could look like, what it should look like. And tomorrow, I feel like we finally get that first little dive into what we should expect to see. It's crazy how fast these things go, right? You have the finals end, and then boom, here's the draft. Free agency opens up this weekend. We'll be covering it all, and I do want to let you all know that we have a very cool panel tomorrow night, our annual draft reaction show. So be sure to come out for round number 1. It's going to be a lot of fun live reacting. Round number 2 is on Thursday. They split it up this year. I will not be covering that live due to my birthday, but we'll keep you up to date with everything going on. And then this weekend, who knows, maybe the Sixers make a huge trade, or maybe they make it tomorrow night. So we have a lot to get into, but I want to know from you down in the comments right now, should the Sixers keep the 16th overall pick, or should they trade it? What do you think? I put this poll out earlier today. 57% of the fans say keep, 43% say trade away. And again, this is why I'm actually very excited for tomorrow night, because it finally gives us that first little hook into what we can expect to see. Oh, by the way, did I mention Daryl Morey is going to be talking to the media after tomorrow night as well. So we're going to react to that as well. And, Daryl Morey may say some things. I'm sure he'll probably say the same old spiel. We want to get better in the short and long term. But now the pressure is on, baby. So I'm interested to hear what he has to say. But we'll talk about what I think is going to happen, because I'm going to give you my prediction. And if the Sixers do keep this pick, I have 5 players that you should keep your eyes on. But it's hard to really dive extensively into it. We know the history of the 76ers as it relates to the draft. We know how it's gone in recent years. Been very interesting. Last year we had the whole draft board question, right? Like, what was going on? It was a mystery. But I want to actually bring it to an article, couple that I read today, and I think it's important to remember this stuff. So shout out to Adam Aronson over on Philly Voice. He says that he did some research in recent days because he was thinking about Daryl Morey and his tenure all the way back to his Houston days in 2007. And here's a fun fact for you. Morey has traded up on draft day a total of 0 times. Daryl Morey has never traded up in the first round of the draft. The Sixers are not going to trade up tomorrow night. There have been whispers and rumors today. Could they trade up in a weaker draft class, right? Get one of these guys? I don't think it's going to happen. So we can rule that out of the equation. The next question is, do they get a win now type of player, a role player with that 16th overall pick? I poised the idea of, Alex Caruso multiple times. I would have loved that deal. 16th pick, Alex Caruso. Didn't happen. Do they get a role player like that? Or do they bundle this pick, save it, maybe for a star, right? We've heard the Paul George rumors, maybe Brandon Ingram, Jimmy Butler, whatever it is. Do they use it in a bigger deal like that? I think if the Sixers keep this pick tomorrow night, it's going to tell me, wow, they're finally actually going to build maybe a younger, more dynamic supporting cast around Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. But if they do end up trading this pick, which seems to be the inclination here, and that's what they've done in recent years, it seems like they're going to end up trading for a bigger name or signing one of the bigger names, because essentially this draft asset is a way to bring another one of those role players in. We know guys are already getting signed in free agency by their own teams, so you may have to use this asset to go get another player. Let's bring it back to a trade that happened just a couple years ago, right? Sixers had no draft picks last year, but the year before, Daryl Morey went out and he traded the 23rd overall pick for DeAnthony Melton. It was the 23rd pick, which ended up turning into David Roddy and Danny Green to the Memphis Grizzlies. Sixers got back DeAnthony Melton. Pretty good trade for that year. Obviously, hasn't panned out that well with his injury status, but that is more of what I could see happening tomorrow night. A trade like this, another DeAnthony Melton trade. Do you think that's the right decision or not? Let me know down below. I would say I'm not really mad either way. If the Sixers keep this pick and they get a player that they think can, contribute in this season coming up, or maybe the next season after, and is more of a ready now player, I'm not going to be mad at it. But if they go get a guy and, their plan is to build this 3-headed monster and they get another role player, 3-and-D shooter like a Melton, I can't really be mad at that either, but we'll finally get tipped off a little bit tomorrow night in terms of what they are trying to do. Because again, right, if they go get a guy and his salary is 8, 9, 10 million, well, then we know, right? They're trying to fit themselves in to this cap window here. So we're going to have to monitor what happens tomorrow night. Obviously, they have the 16th pick, which is not like a terrible pick. It's not the best, though. It's right outside the lottery. And yeah, a couple of these names may end up falling. Now, here's a couple trades that were proposed this week by Bleacher Report. They had a Mikal Bridges mock trade where the Sixers would get Bridges, the Nets would get a bunch of picks. Would I do this trade? Absolutely. I posted a tweet last week, I think it was, saying that Mikal Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith would actually be the best trade possible. It would give the Sixers cap flexibility because Bridges, I think, is only on for $22 million this year. Dorian Finney-Smith gives them another 3-and-D type of guy, and they can still build a roster more. Would the Nets do this? Probably not. They would probably demand every single asset the Sixers have, and then on top of that, they probably wouldn't even want to do business with Philly again. So I don't think this is going to happen, even though I would love it. And talk about the irony of a Mikal Bridges trade on draft night to the Sixers. That would be absolutely insane. In addition to that, another idea. Sixers get Brandon Ingram for the 16th pick and a 2028 first rounder. I don't think this is realistic. I think the Pelicans will want more than this. Plus, the Sixers are going to then have to sign Brandon Ingram most likely to a max contract, and I still don't think that is the right decision. Tim Legler had a segment on ESPN today talking about Brandon Ingram, pretty much saying that if he gets a max from the Pelicans, they need to be investigated because of how bad he played at the end of the season. So, yeah, I'm not really on the Brandon Ingram max train, even though people are trying to talk me into it. And I don't think he's a terrible player. I just don't think he's worth max money right now. The bigger question, the bigger trade idea is Paul George. Now, this is going to be one of those things where if he signs in Philadelphia, people are going to revisit this regularly. They're going to make jokes about this. Paul George says that he went and watched film on Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, and Chad Ochocinco to help him become a better podcaster. They're saying now here that Paul George is watching more film on podcasting than he is on basketball. Then they're bringing up the quotes from a couple days ago in his pod where he said, "I'm not chasing a chip. I just want to play the right style of ball." Does Paul George want to win? Is he going to spend more time watching podcasting film or how to exploit defenses? People are pissed off at this. I don't know how much to take it into consideration. But at the end of the day, man, Paul George needs to get serious. And there's a lot of rumors going around about Paul George this weekend already opting in and then requesting a trade. Kind of like some of these other stars in recent history have done, even like a Harden, to force his way to a certain team. Clippers would try to get something back in the deal. Paul George is the biggest domino right now. If he wants a trade, then, 5 other things are then going to happen after that. Teams are going to become available. They're talking about the Knicks, the Warriors, etc. Everything is kind of depending on this Paul George situation. It says the Clippers are unwilling to offer him a contract larger than Kawhi, and we had Dime Dropper on the channel the other day who echoed this, saying that they want to keep those two on the same timeline and not give Paul George the extra year. PG opting in and requesting a trade is feeling like a realistic option per Steinline. There's been so many conflicting reports. Some are saying the Sixers are done with him. Some are saying they still want him and he's their top target. Some are saying he's going to do a sign and trade. Some are saying he likes podcasting only. Now, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Paul George. I don't think a trade happens tomorrow night, but his deadline to pick up his option, I think, is on the 29th, which is coming up. And by this weekend, he could either end up doing a sign and trade and be in Philadelphia. He could be somewhere else, or he could say, "I'm going back to the Clippers," and then that changes everything. And then you start to get a little more worried if you're a Sixers fan, like, yo, are we going to do something? Here's the quote. It says, "There's a growing feeling league-wide that 34-year-old is picking up his option for next season to force the Clippers to trade him is an increasingly realistic scenario after months of fruitless contract extension negotiations. Clippers appear unwilling to offer a richer deal to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard's $150 million-ish over 3 seasons." So what do we think? 34-year-old Paul George, does he end up staying with the Clippers or not? I think what the Sixers do tomorrow night, though, could kind of signal us, are they going to pick up a win-now role player and still have space to go trade for Paul George? Are they going to draft somebody and say, screw Paul George and just get a bunch of dogs on this team? I don't know, but it's going to be very interesting. Lastly, here's my top 5 list. We've made videos about most of these guys at this point. Dalton Knecht at number 1, even though I don't think he'll be there at 16. He's probably one of the most ready now players in this draft, and I think he's going to be probably the best player in this draft. I would love if the Sixers could get him. Devin Carter and Jared McCain, 2 guards that have really good tendencies. Devin Carter reminds me a lot of like a Josh Hart type, can defend well, can play the 1 or 2, can knock down shots at a high clip. Just a very explosive, exciting athlete. I think his floor will be a very good role player or 3-and-D player for a long time, but I think he's going to be a star based on what we've seen. He was actually mocked to the Sixers originally and then got moved up as the combine went on, set some records. Now he's projecting to go in the top 10. Jared McCain, a freshman out of Duke. I think he has superstar potential down the line. Do you want to wait for that? Shot very well this past season and really looks like a guy who could step into the 1. Maybe Maxey could shift over to the 2. Jacoby Walter, I really like, has a lot of upside down the road, and Khalil Ware as a potential backup center option. Again, we've talked about a lot of these guys, but here is my top 5 list if the Sixers do keep that number 16 pick. A lot of other players interested and involved as well. Do they keep the pick? Do they not? Give me your thoughts down below in the comment section. Do we see a draft night trade? I'm going to predict that they do make a draft night trade. They trade the 16th pick for a role player, and they move forward with that. Give me your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all tomorrow night for round 1 of the NBA draft. Catch you on the next one. Peace.